और मैं आप सभी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ. I really thank you everyone to come here and participate in this meeting here today. What we are going to do is have a very detailed information on this topic, which is called cellular nutrition. And it is a very important topic because people know about nutrition, people know about the importance of nutrition, and we generally talk about nutrition in a very general sense, as at a high level. But today we are going to get into the details of what how nutrition works at the level of cells, right? This was a very new term for me also, but many years ago I came to understand it, study it, and with the help of my mentor, we are actually working on this field very, very passionately. So just to introduce a little bit about myself, I am into health and wellness industry since last 20 years now, and associated with this organization, which is called Nutrilite. And as we know that Nutrilite is into field of health and wellness. And today we will be covering very detailed aspects of how different kinds of nutrients work at a cellular level and what is the importance for it in terms of achieving the optimum health. Now, when we talk about optimal health, then I usually ask this question to friends that what is the mark that you want to get when it comes to health? Is it 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 or 8 or 9 out of 10? And most of the times I get this answer, Sabir, we want 10 out of 10. So when we talk about optimal health, it means the best possible health given your genetic background, given the environment you live in, that is possible. And today I'm going to take into detailed aspects of what is cellular nutrition and why it is important to achieve optimal health. And the first thing which I want to do here is, when I talk about cellular nutrition, is lay down a very fundamental philosophy, which is not new, but very important for us to know. So when we talk about optimal health, there are 4 important pillars. One is adequate exercise, positive attitude, adequate rest, and nutrition. If we can take care of these 4 pillars, अगर हम इन 4 pillars का ध्यान रख सके, तो we will have best of the best health. I will briefly touch upon these points. Exercise, if we talk about, everybody knows the importance of exercise. But the point is, are we regular and are we doing optimum exercise or adequate exercise? So the 3 things which comes to anybody's mind about exercise is what it gives is, it gives us strength, it gives us stamina, and it gives us flexibility. This is at a higher level, but at a detailed level, if we go deep inside, it increases our immunity. It has an impact on our glucose metabolism. It has an impact on various biological and chemical processes in our body. So it is very important to exercise at least 45 minutes to 1 hour in a day. Then comes your positive mental attitude, our state of mind. In our scriptures, we have been told that everything is governed through our mind. So it is very important that we have a very nice state of mind. Here, what helps a lot is what kind of association you keep, what types of books do you read, whom do you interact with on a daily basis, right? And the most important thing is meditation. Do we do enough meditation? I was very lucky that few years ago I met a self-realized master, and he told me that when we do meditation, what happens is our thoughts almost become zero, and a lot of cosmic energy enter our body at that time. So it's a very important pillar of our optimum health, that we take care of our state of mind, our positive attitude. Adequate rest, 7 to 8 hours of sleep minimum is required, sound sleep. So I'm sure many of us would have heard about something called as circadian rhythm, right? God has designed our body, and there are natural biological processes, biological clocks in our body, which respond to the environment. And for example, we sleep at night. So why is it that when night comes, then only we should sleep? because our body, our biological clocks are designed that way. So we should try to respect it as much as possible. Timing of our meals. What are the best timings? That is something which is very important. What are the intervals? So these things are very, very important. And from that perspective also, having adequate rest is very important. This is the time when our body detoxifies itself. There are various subconscious processes which happen during this time. So very important that we give adequate rest. And then, of course, last but not the least, which is the very important portion we'll cover today, is nutrition, right? It is said that we are what we eat. And that is why it is one of the most important pillars. And we will discuss this in detail. And last but not the least, we have to be very aware about what is additional nutritional needs. And if there is a gap in our nutrition, then we should be open-minded about taking some supplements also. Now, talking about cellular nutrition, right? It's a word which I came to know almost about 15 years ago, I should say, or I should say 16 years. And the credit I would give is to this great author here, which is Dr.Ray Strand. And this gentleman has done a tremendous work in the field of wellness. He is a doctor, and wellness, as we know, is how not to fall sick. It's also very important for me to repeat his story because there is a lot of message here. Now, the title of the book is What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Nutritional Medicine May Be Killing You. Isn't it surprising that a doctor has written a book about saying that what your doctor doesn't know may be killing you? It's very surprising. But there is a story behind it. When this gentleman, he got married, his wife was very happy. Before marriage, she was keeping a little low on health. But what happened is after marriage, after 10 years, in fact, over a period of time, her health slowly started deteriorating. And there came a point in time when it was very, very bad, and she was on the verge of collapsing. In fact, her condition was so bad that if she walks from one room to another room, she was barely able to walk, and she used to become very, very tired. And finally, being a doctor, he came to know that the disease which she is suffering from is called fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia is a degenerative disease. What happens in this disease is that one after the another, our body systems become very weak and very fragile. The respiratory system becomes weak, the digestive system becomes weak, and a person's immune system specifically, it completely becomes very weak. Suppose if somebody catches a common cold or cough, it will, rather than getting healed in 3-4 days, it will take months together sometimes, or days together. And this person, being a doctor, he tried different therapies, different medical treatments. Unfortunately, nothing worked. And her condition was so bad that she used to be on a wheelchair or on a bed for many, many hours in a day and hardly able to do anything, any work in the house. And that was the time that one of their distant relatives, they suggested, they had heard of a similar case, and they suggested her to increase her nutritional parameters and change her lifestyle. And in this book, doctor has confessed his bias against additional nutrients like vitamins and minerals. And he was basically almost against it, which is written in this book. But in Hindi, we have a saying that "Doobte ko tinke ka sahara." After trying everything, nothing is working. What's the harm in trying one more thing? No problem. So she said, okay, you go ahead and try, and you can take those supplements like vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. And what happened is she was able to procure those supplements and take them. And in just 3 days, she felt really, really good. And at the end of few more days, she started looking much brighter. And this was very surprising to the doctor. And the story goes that at the end of 3 months, she was absolutely all right. And it was a big shock to him. And he realized that there is definitely something missing in my knowledge, and I need to learn more and study more. So what he did is he went through a lot of American Journal of Medicines, British Journal of Medicines, and he found out that there is a lot of research which has been already done in the field of wellness as to how not to fall sick. And what happened is when he did this study, he realized that there is amazing benefit which these nutrients like vitamins, minerals, antioxidants can do to our health. And in his research, he did his study at a very cellular level, how these nutrients help these cells to rejuvenate, how the enzyme system, hormone system of the body can be rejuvenated. And in this disease, he found out one underlying thing, that the majority of the diseases, almost 80% of the degenerative diseases, are caused by something called as oxidative stress or free radical damage. And he found out that majority of the diseases like diabetes, heart disease, even cancers, all these can be actually prevented if somebody knows how to nourish their cells at a cellular level. And in this book, he has talked about different diseases and how to prevent them and how to reverse them to a great extent. And I'm going to today highlight one crucial part which we all need to understand as to how cellular nutrition helps us to revive and how we can achieve that. So let's first talk about his theory, where he says that, free radicals and oxidative stress leads to degenerative diseases. And what is this free radicals? What damage do they do to our body? What is this oxidative stress? Let's understand that in detail. And in this book, he also says that, nowadays what is happening is that we are living too short and dying too long, which means that somebody gets a disease at the age of 35, let's say a heart problem or a diabetes, and they live with that for many, many years. And he says that this can be avoided. So his theory about what is cellular nutrition, let's understand this and then we'll go into more details. So cellular nutrition, he says, is simply providing all nutrients to the cell at optimal levels. This allows the cell to determine what it actually does and does not need. I don't have to worry about determining which nutrients the cell is deficient in. In our scriptures, it is written that our body has the intelligence to heal itself. And it can heal only if you provide all the nutrients which it needs. So he says that I simply provide all of the nutrients at optimal levels, those levels shown to provide a health benefit in the medical literature. And any nutritional deficiencies will be automatically corrected over the next few months by this approach. And through this theory, he has achieved miracles. And I'm going to share with you a few examples of my personal experience also. So let's understand what is a cell, right? We know that we all are made up of trillions of cells. And I'm going to cover some of the cells very interestingly as to what are the different cells in our body. But if you look at this picture, this is a human cell. It has many, many different parts in it. And it has a cell as a cell membrane, cell as a mitochondria. It is the place where the glucose is burnt and energy is created, literal energy, which actually we see is electricity running in our house. The same energy is produced by mitochondria here. There is cytoplasm. This is the liquid medium which carries nutrients throughout the cell. Then we have the nucleus, the most important. Inside the nucleus, we have DNA of the cell. And what this DNA does, this DNA tells the cell, it's the program of it's the software of the cell, which tells the cells how to do a specific function, how to interact with other cells, what message to carry, how to interpret message. Everything is in the DNA. Likewise, we have Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus, the job of Golgi apparatus is to create different structures of proteins, right? And I'm going to cover that in more detail. So there are so many activities which are happening inside the cell. And just that we can appreciate, I'm going to show you a small video here as to what cell looks like.
Cells are the smallest living units of an organism. All cells have three things in common, no matter what type of cell they are. All cells have a cell membrane, which separates the inside of the cell from its environment, cytoplasm, which is a jelly-like fluid, and DNA, which is the cell's genetic material. There are two broad categories of cells. The first category is eukaryotic cells. They have organelles, which include the nucleus and other special parts. Eukaryotic cells are more advanced, complex cells, such as those found in plants and animals. The second category is prokaryotic cells. They don't have a nucleus or membrane-enclosed organelles. They do have genetic material, but it's not contained within a nucleus. Prokaryotic cells are always one-celled or unicellular organisms, such as bacteria. So, what are organelles? Organelle means little organ. Organelles are the specialized parts of a cell that have unique jobs to perform. Let's start with the nucleus, the control center of the cell. The nucleus contains DNA, or genetic material. DNA dictates what the cell is going to do and how it's going to do it. Chromatin is the tangled, spread-out form of DNA found inside the nuclear membrane. When a cell is ready to divide, DNA condenses into structures known as chromosomes. The nucleus also contains a nucleolus, which is a structure where ribosomes are made. After ribosomes leave the nucleus, they will have the important job of synthesizing or making proteins. Outside the nucleus, the ribosomes and the rest of the organelles float around in cytoplasm, which is the jelly-like substance. Ribosomes may wander freely within the cytoplasm or attach to the endoplasmic reticulum, sometimes abbreviated as ER. There are two types of ER. Rough ER has ribosomes attached to it, and smooth ER.
Okay, so this is a little longer video, and I would definitely share a link with you. But understand that, God has created such an amazing body, and we have, what we just saw is a video of one cell, and so many activities are going on inside trillions of cells in our body, and that's what makes us very, very special, right? And all these cells, they actually are the fundamental unit of our body, and I'm going to share more details about it. But just imagine, when we eat things, when we eat something, do we really think what's going to happen inside our cells when we eat that? And more importantly, do we ever ask ourselves the questions that, are we getting enough nutrients so that our cells can perform these tasks, which are very important? And that is what we are going to demystify in more detail. And we will all be very powerful in understanding how we can take charge of our health once we understand this basic philosophy. Now, in this picture, if you see, there is a house, and we know that house is made up of bricks and cement and sand. So the construction quality of the house will actually depend on how strong the bricks are or how good the quality of cement and sand is. In the same way, our cells, lots of cells put together, they make tissues, and the tissues put together, they make the organs, and the organs do the functions, and that makes the human body. So if our cells are healthy, then tissues are healthy, and if tissues are healthy, then organs are healthy. And if we have organs healthy, then the whole human body is healthy. Now, one of the fundamental things which makes our cells healthy is definitely what food we are eating, right? And just at a very high level, and we'll get into the details, and that's going to be very interesting, is food, right? So as per WHO, there's a small food pyramid which says that first thing is water. We should take at least 5% of our body's weight. Let's say my body weight is 60 kg. I need to drink at least 3 liters of water. Then comes fruits and vegetables. What's written here is minimum 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, minimum 3 to 4 servings of vegetables. So sorry, I repeat, nearly 4 to 5 servings of fruits and 3 to 4 or 5 servings of vegetables. So that makes around 9 to 13 servings of vegetables. That's the ideal recommendation. Why? Because we get colors from the fruits, we get the vitamins, minerals, our body needs more than 60 important nutrients, and we will see that in detail. And then comes about your grains, or what we say is carbohydrates, is one of the sources of energy. Then comes your proteins, which are the building blocks of our body. Our cells, muscles, tissues, everything is made of protein. And then we have necessary fats, what we call as essential fats at the top of the pyramid, and then salt and sweet, almost negligible. Now, this is how one should eat food, is the recommendation. And we are going to talk about in detail as to what is right recommendation, because today there is a lot of research being done as to what is right food. A lot of theories which were there in 1930s, it changed in 1950s, and it changed in 1970s. And now more and more scientists are challenging old theories. And I'm going to share some light on that and give some important links as to where we can find more information. And of course, so this is very, very important, that the food pyramid, the question that we need to ask is the food pyramid we are eating today is right or not, right? So this brings us to the very important topic and term, which is metabolism. So we know that, metabolism is sum total of all biological and chemical reactions that are happening in our body to make our body run. But if we have to simplify it and understand what are the factors which affect metabolism, these are the 4 important factors which affect the metabolism. One is your food, second is the exercise, rest, and positive mental attitude. Those are the fundamental pillars of our metabolism. Now, if you have to understand further, metabolism is divided into 2 parts, anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism means birth of new cells in layman's terms, and catabolism is death of cells. So let's say if there is a baby, which is a small infant growing into an adult, at that time anabolism is more. It means out of 100 cells, 70 cells are born and 30 die. But in catabolism, the reverse process happens. 70 die and 30 are born. And usually it is said after the age of 28, 30, the catabolic processes start becoming faster. And that is one of the primary reasons why our organs start degenerating or decaying. Now, how we can take charge of our metabolism is by those 4 pillars. And I'm going to demystify a little bit on the food here. So food is again divided into 2 parts, calories and nutrients. Calories is something like petrol in our scooter or a car, and nutrients we can say is like the engine oil of our car. And I'm sure this knowledge is very basic, but we are going to get into more detail soon. Now, talking about nutrients, there are 2 kinds of nutrients. Macronutrients is something that we need in more quantity, and micronutrients is something that we need in less quantity. What are the macronutrients? Fats, carbohydrates, proteins. These are called the macronutrients. And one of the most important macronutrients is proteins. Not that others are not important. The reason I'm highlighting proteins here is because 80% of the Indians, unfortunately, are deficient in protein. And muscles, cells, tissues, this enzymes, hormones that we saw, every cell in our body has a protein content in it. The DNA that we talked about is again made up of protein. So what is the nutritional need for our body? Per kg of weight, we need 1 gram protein. If my body weight is 60 kg, I need to take 60 grams of protein. But what is that kind of protein that we need? We need a complete protein. What is a complete protein? Protein, there are other name for protein is called amino acids. Our body needs 22 different amino acids, out of which 13 are non-essential. They are called non-essential because they can be still made in our body. But there are other 9 essential amino acids, which are primary essential amino acids, which our body cannot manufacture. It has to be taken from the right source in the right form, and then and only that 9 amino acids can be absorbed in our body. Now, these 9 essential amino acids are very important because when these amino acids go inside our body, they form more than close to 1 lakh protein combinations. And I'm going to play a short video later which talks about it in a little bit more detail. Now, that's about proteins, right? Fats and carbohydrates, typically in Indian diet, we are able to get it in a very easy way, or in fact in a more quantity usually, and we'll talk about that as well. Now, micronutrients are something which we need in less quantity but are very, very important. They are like catalysts. Without that, that particular reaction in body will not happen. So for example, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, these are water soluble and fat soluble vitamins, and then minerals like calcium, iron, magnesium, right? So let's say iron. Why is iron so important? Every time somebody starts feeling weak, doctor says, okay, you get a hemoglobin test done. So iron is a carrier of oxygen throughout the body. Just imagine if the oxygen is not reaching the cells, how will they create energy? So there is a direct relationship between the amount of oxygen flowing in the blood, which is usually carried by iron. And if iron is not enough, then obviously that is just one part of it. Iron is also important for our immune system. It has many, many other functions, which I'll show you a chart little later in the presentation. And that's why here is an example. If we have to visualize or summarize what we have said so far, if this is a human wall, then proteins are nothing but the building blocks, and vitamins and minerals are nothing but the cement which holds it together. And now one thing which is very, very important is essential fats like omega-3, omega-6. Essential fats are very, very important, because these essential fats, we saw the cell membrane. The health of the cell membrane is taken care of by omega-3. Whether the nutrients are able to pass through the cell effectively and the wastes are being disposed out of the cells effectively, that's taken care by omega-3. And then phytonutrients, the colors, the 5 primary colors that we talk about, the white color, the purple, the red, the green. These colors have some amazing health benefits, and they are very powerful antioxidants. So here's the picture which I wanted to share with you, right? So if you see how aging happens, and this is an example of metabolic process, which I talked to you about, anabolism and catabolism. Like when the seed grows into a bigger plant, at that time anabolism is greater than catabolism. And when the plant starts decaying, it is at that time catabolism is more than the anabolism. Okay. And the same thing, as we saw in the earlier picture, happens with human bodies also. And one of the reasons why our catabolic processes are becoming more, as Dr. Ray Strand says, that one of the reasons for degenerations are free radicals. And here I want to take a little bit time to explain what is free radical and how it can be prevented. So in the picture, as you see, any healthy atom will have a pair of electrons. So if it is a hydrogen atom, it will have 2 electrons. If it is an oxygen atom, it will have 8 electrons. But during some process, if one of the electron is lost by a stable atom, that particular atom becomes extremely unstable, and that is called a free radical. And what this free radical does is it attacks the neighboring molecule. And when it attacks the neighboring molecule, it disturbs the neighboring molecule or the neighboring atom, and it itself becomes balanced, as you can see in the picture, but the other molecule which it attacked becomes unstable. But imagine if there are too many stray free radicals attacking left, right, and center, different cells and molecules and atoms of our body, there is an unstoppable war which happens within. And that's what is called oxidative stress. And one of the easiest examples I can give you is an apple. You might have seen that, you cut an apple and sometime it turns brown. As you can see in this picture, how damaged it looks. And similar damage is done by free radicals inside our body also. So what are these causes of free radicals? Free radicals are caused by excessive stress, poor diet. What is poor diet is what I'm going to share a little bit in detail today. Poor diet is one of the biggest cause of free radicals. Then, of course, sun rays, UVA, UV rays, air pollution, industrial pollution, insecticide, pesticides. cigarette, alcohol, needless to say about it, they bring in huge amount of free radicals in our body. And of course, when food is converted, when food is digested, the byproducts of our metabolic processes, that also creates a lot of free radicals in our body. So here is a detailed picture. We saw that when glucose enters our cell and when oxygen is used to create energy, we definitely get energy, but we also get free radicals in that process also. And sometimes these free radicals can also attack the DNA of the cell, as you can see in the picture. And in such cases, the DNA gets disturbed, and many a times it can lead to gene mutation and abnormal programming of the cell, which can lead to cancer. And that's what Dr. Strand explains in this book, that many a times cancers can be, the root cause of cancers would be excessive prolonged free radical damage, right? And as you can see, it can also cause, if these free radicals attack the lungs, it can cause lungs issues. If it attacks our pancreas, it can kill the beta cells which create insulins, indirectly and directly leading to diabetes. It can lead to excessive inflammation of arteries, which leads to cardiovascular diseases, and of course, cancer, as we talked about. So what is our defense? So as we know, God has provided us beautiful nature. We have in our defense something called as antioxidants. Antioxidants are natural substances which are found in nature, which have the capacity to neutralize the damage which is caused by free radical. How do they neutralize? They have an extra electron to give so that they can balance the unstable atom and thereby minimize the damage. So luckily for us, the same vitamins which we were talking about work as antioxidants. Now, one of the important points which I missed to mention is, when we talk about vitamins and minerals, World Health Organization has decided a quantity which is called RDA, required daily allowance. Now, in the olden days, we used to hear about diseases like rickets or beriberi or pellagra, which are deficiency diseases. When our body does not get enough vitamin below RDA, then we get those diseases. But when we talk about optimum health, our need for vitamins and minerals is much more than what is RDA. And then and only then these vitamins and minerals will act as antioxidants. So these free radicals are of two kinds, because our cell has water part and fat part similarly. So free radicals are water soluble and fat soluble. So one of the powerful antioxidant is vitamin C. It's a very powerful antioxidant. It protects our cell like anything. I always tell my friends that vitamin C is the senapati of our immune system, you can say, right? It's a commander in chief. And likewise, vitamin A and vitamin E, fat soluble antioxidants. But apart from this, there are very important minerals like zinc, vitamin D, selenium, the whole different colors which are present in natural fruits and vegetables, which are called phytonutrients. And to give you an example of phytonutrient, there is something called as beta carotene, and it is usually found in yellow and orange fruits. That beta carotene is a very powerful antioxidant, and in fact, it is a precursor to vitamin A. So if we are taking enough beta carotene, it can be stored, and when the need comes, the body makes enough vitamin A from that beta carotene. So there are different pigments like xanthophyll. There are different nutrients for eye, for example, lutein. It's a very powerful antioxidant, and I'm going to touch upon quickly on that as well. Now, where do these phytonutrients come from? Usually they come from the parts which we animals prefer to eat, but we as human beings eat less, right? So for example, the pulp we eat, but we throw away the peel, but that has amazing nutrients. But our friends from the nature, they eat it. Of course, it is there in lot quantity in seeds. And that's why WHO says that everybody should have 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables to get a whole spectrum of phytonutrients. And the beauty about how these phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals work is they work in synergy. They cannot work alone. They will be useful to a certain extent, but to maximize its effect, they help each other, they are interdependent, and they work together. So they have to be taken together in the optimum amount. Now, this brings to a very interesting part of cellular nutrition talk that we are doing today. What are the different types of cells? Let's dig it a little bit deeper. So our cells, of course, we have the bone cells. They are the toughest body cell. And we all know that bone cells are primarily made up of calcium, magnesium. Very easily people know about it. But very few people mention the importance of protein for bone building, importance of collagen, which is actually made up of vitamin C for bone building. So we need bone cells, which makes the bone strong. And remember, friends, the best friends in your old age will be your bones. Second comes the cartilage cells. Like the nose or the ear, the material is made up of cartilage. Very important cells. The knee joint pain a lot of people are having nowadays because their cartilage cells are wearing out very easily, right? But they are very important because they provide cushion in the knee joint. I'm just briefly touching upon them. Third is our nerve cells. Amazing. Right from even before we come into this world, these nerve cells are present, and they give us lifelong memory. And they have important functions like passing the message from one part of the body to another. It's a big part of our immune system. It's a big part of our reflex system. Then epithelial cells, the first line of defense. The largest organ in our body is made up of that, right? The skin and many other coverings of our cells. Our arteries have a layer of single lining of epithelial cells, which do a tremendous important function. Muscle cells, needless to talk about it. Our movement is possible because of them. And you look at these things which form these cells. Like for example, muscle cells, they are rich in proteins, actin and myosin. So if you see, friends, all these nutrients which I mentioned earlier are all at a very, very micro level, like actin and myosin, which are nothing but advanced form of amino acids, right? But for this actin and myosin to be formed in our body, we need right amount of proteins. Then comes your secretory cell. Oh, amazing. Our digestive system is made up of lots of secretory cells. For example, we know that digestive juices are created in, are stored in bile, created in liver. Pancreatic cells, one of the most talked about because they create insulin, which helps us to manage our glucose levels. Salivary gland, it secretes an enzyme called ptyalin, salivary amylase, which the digestion of that food, of our food, happens 30% in our mouth. And it's because of this particular cells which secrete that. Adipose cells, fat cells. People think fat is bad. Excessive fat may be bad, but we need fat in a very big quantity, because just to give you an example, we need fat to transport proteins from one part of the body to other. Omega-3, our brain is primarily made up of fat cells, right? So we know that it's very, very important. And then of course, blood cells, needless to talk about it. The first thing which doctors ask us to do is get a blood report done, right? Our immune system, lymphocytes, monocytes, antibodies, antigens, everything is made up of these amazing cells, right? And all these can be healthy if and only if we are giving nutrition in enough quantity. And we need to do that because these nutrients do amazing functioning. So usually what happens is, let's see this video first and then I'll continue. This video talks about how omega-3 works at a cellular level. It's a very interesting video. Please pay attention.
Omega-3, you've heard of it. But what is it exactly? Omega-3 is a family of fat molecules, and these molecules play many roles in the functioning of our cells. For one, the omega-3 molecules make up part of the cell membrane, helping to regulate the passage of nutrients and waste products in and out of the cell. They also promote signaling between cells by providing the structure and connection to cell membrane receptors. And there's more. The omega-3 molecules put a damper on the inflammation in our bodies. They balance out the pro-inflammatory omega-6 molecules to prevent inflammation from occurring. Research has also found that omega-3 molecules create the building blocks for new metabolites that have the ability to stop ongoing inflammation. Now imagine what happens if you don't consume enough omega-3 on a regular basis. The cell membrane hardens, preventing nutrients from coming into the cell and waste products from leaving. The cell signaling functions are compromised, and inflammation runs rampant, setting the stage for some of the most common diseases we face. In the United States, most of us get far too little omega-3.
Okay, so this video, small clip, explained how omega-3 works at a cellular level. And this is just one minor function of allowing the nutrients to go inside the cell and waste going outside the cell. But can you imagine if that waste does not go outside the cell? Have you heard people talking about toxicity? I want to remove toxins from my body. It's all those basic nutrients, proteins, vitamins, minerals, who have the capacity to actually control the toxicity of our body. Very, very important. So it was a great video here of omega-3. Another interesting video I want to bring up quickly here, and then we can talk further about it. Now we talked about so much about proteins. We know that 25% of our body is made up of proteins, right? We talked about DNA being a very important part of our cell. And nowadays you would have heard that a lot of people are getting DNA degenerative diseases where DNA is being disturbed in a very big way. Cancers are growing in a big way. Let's see how proteins are amazing workers at a cellular level. What do they do? So this is another interesting video here. Let's pay attention to this video as well.
The DNA in just one of your cells gets damaged tens of thousands of times per day. Multiply that by your body's 100 trillion or so cells, and you've got a quintillion DNA errors every day. And because DNA provides the blueprint for the proteins your cells need to function, damage causes serious problems, such as cancer. The errors come in different forms. Sometimes nucleotides, DNA's building blocks, get damaged. Other times nucleotides get matched up incorrectly, causing mutations. And nicks in one or both strands can interfere with DNA replication, or even cause sections of DNA to get mixed up. Fortunately, your cells have ways of fixing most of these problems, most of the time. These repair pathways all rely on specialized enzymes. Different ones respond to different types of damage.
So I want to remind you here that enzymes are made up of proteins.
One common error is base mismatches. Each nucleotide contains a base, and during DNA replication, the enzyme DNA polymerase is supposed to bring in the right partner to pair with every base on each template strand, adenine with thymine and guanine with cytosine. But about once every 100,000 additions, it makes a mistake. The enzyme catches most of these right away and cuts off a few nucleotides and replaces them with the correct ones. And just in
So what we are seeing here is the DNA repair mechanism, which is enabled by the enzymes. And if something goes wrong with this repair mechanism, then it can cause mutations, as was mentioned earlier.
In case it missed a few, a second set of proteins comes behind it to check. If they find a mismatch, they cut out the incorrect nucleotide and replace it. This is called mismatch repair.
What an amazing body God has created. So we have within this system also a double check, a verification process, and which is again the proteins which do that job.
Together, these two systems reduce the number of base mismatch errors to about 1 in 1 billion. But DNA can get damaged after replication too. Lots of different molecules can cause chemical changes to nucleotides. Some of these come from environmental exposure, like certain compounds in tobacco smoke. But others are molecules that are found in cells naturally, like hydrogen peroxide. Certain chemical changes are so common that they have specific enzymes assigned to reverse the damage. But the cell also has more general repair pathways. If just one base is damaged, it can usually be fixed by a process called base excision repair. One enzyme snips out the damaged base, and other enzymes come in to trim around the site and replace the nucleotides. UV light can cause damage that's a little harder to fix. Sometimes it causes two adjacent nucleotides to stick together, distorting the DNA's double helix shape. Damage like this requires a more complex process called nucleotide excision repair. A team of proteins removes a long strand of 24 or so nucleotides and replaces them with fresh ones. Very high-frequency radiation, like gamma rays and X-rays, cause a different kind of damage. They can actually sever one or both strands of the DNA backbone. Double-strand breaks are the most dangerous. Even one can cause cell death. The two most common pathways for repairing double-strand breaks are called homologous recombination and non-homologous end joining. Homologous recombination uses an undamaged section of similar DNA as a template. Enzymes interlace the damaged and undamaged strands, get them to exchange sequences of nucleotides, and finally fill in the missing gaps to end up with two complete double-stranded segments.
Right. So it's a very bewildering process that we are seeing here. So what we are seeing here is that how a damaged DNA can also be repaired, which is a very, very important functioning. Another thing is that when the DNA, there is something called as DNA's expression. It is said that everybody has a different set of genes, and that's why the behavior of the nutrients, when we take that, it's different. So it's very important to understand that, DNA health is very, very important, and that is governed by one of the most important nutrients, which is proteins. So this is another interesting chart, which I got from one of the leading discovery health website site. And this talks about different kinds of vitamins and minerals on the left-hand side and what is their effect on the top. So it's not that legible, but since I am aware of it, so I'll just read out one. So for example, calcium. Calcium helps in anti-aging. It helps in arteriosclerosis. It helps in bones that we talked about, cancer prevention. It's a chelator. That means it removes toxins, cholesterol maintenance, kidney problems. So as you can see, this cross marks shows what are the effects these nutrients, all the vitamins, minerals, and the phytonutrients in the green can have on our body, and if not taken in the right quantity, can lead to abnormal functioning. Now, the point which I was sharing with us is that on a day-to-day basis, what happens is, let's say if somebody is having a mild headache, or somebody is having very frequent gastric issues, or somebody is having muscle pain of some kind, especially in the calf muscles area. These are the starting stages of some big underlying problems. And usually we shy this away, saying that, oh, it's fine, it's not a big thing. But actually, body is giving us indication that something is not right. And over a period of time, these small things, we probably take a small medicine sometime, or we go to a doctor and he gives us something, that's fine. But if we do not take care, then these small problems over a period of time can become big issues and turn into full-blown diseases. I'll just give you an example of for example, you might have heard of a disease called gout, right? And one of the important functions of liver is to produce albumin, and albumin is a kind of protein, or which is made only if we are eating enough protein. If the albumin level goes down, then the cells cannot, all the cells create a lot of uric waste. And this uric waste, if it is not removed, then our cells become waterlogged. So it is the function of the albumin to remove this uric waste, and through the kidney it is flushed out. But if somebody is having lack of protein in their diet over a period of time, then slowly the cells become waterlogged because of the uric waste not getting out. And it was the primary function of albumin, which is protein. And when that does not happen, then obviously that cell becomes toxic and its function is jeopardized. And this over a period of time then results in gout. Now it's a very paradoxical thing to see that, you know, once we go to any of the professionals, they say that because somebody has gout, probably you should not take enough protein. But in the very first phase, it was the lack of protein which created that situation, which very few people talk about or know. And that is why it is very, very important that we take charge of our health in our hands by following the principles of cellular nutrition, which is nothing, which I mentioned, the theory of Dr.Ray, Strand, that you provide your cells with optimum nutrition. And once the cell has optimum nutrition with it, it has the intelligence to heal itself. It has the intelligence to correct itself. And thereby, we all can live a life of optimum health. So friends, this was just to highlight very basic thing, but very important, that how nutrients decide the overall health and how they enrich the cells, how they nourish the cells, how they nurture the cells, how these nutrients provide an environment for the cells to perform at its best. So in Nutrilite, right, next 15-20 minutes, I'll be winding up my lecture. I'll be talking about some important things. One is that, what is the solution? How can we achieve optimal health? We understand cellular nutrition. The key thing to do is to change our lifestyle. Very, very important. And second point, which I want to share, is optimize your nutrition as much as you can. So again, the theory is same. The pillars of optimal health are exercise, positive mental attitude, adequate rest, and nutrition. But all this will happen only if we are conscious, right? It is said that we are what we eat. And that is where we need to come to know as to what is right food, right? So when we say change your lifestyle, very important point is what to eat. Second thing is when to eat. Remember, I talked about circadian rhythms of our body, very important. And third is how to eat. So what to eat? Cut down sugar and carbohydrates in diet. That's the first point I want to share here. Typically, in Indian diet, we have seen that there is high amount of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is there in food like rice, wheat, bread, all these kind of foods, right? Paratha. Now, one important thing we all need to know is every food has a property which is called glycemic index. Glycemic index of a food decides how fast the sugar level will rise and how fast it comes back to normal. The measure of that effect of food is called glycemic index. So food which are high glycemic index are very dangerous. What happens is when we take high glycemic index food again and again, it shoots up our insulin levels. And remember that insulin is a storage hormone. It builds up fats in our body. Second thing about the carbohydrates diet, high carbohydrate diet, is it creates a lot of oxidative stress in our body. Just to give you an example, if there are dry leaves, right? When we burn the dry leaves, it is like, it will make that sound, thud, 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 thud. Or, it's like a bush kind of thing, right? That's how the carbohydrates burn. But fat, they burn like a log of wood. So fat has been blamed since many years as it is bad. But there are a lot of researchers which tell now that, it is the carbohydrates which is the root cause of underlying problems, because they create a lot of oxidative stress. And as I said, oxidative stress creates, it increases inflammation, which can lead to cardiovascular diseases. Another thing we need to know about when we talk about what to eat is eat more protein, right? And eat high fiber food. Fiber comes from things like salads, vegetables, sprouts, such kind of food. And by default, such kind of food is low glycemic. So what happens when we take more protein and more fiber? When we take more protein and more fiber, the glucose metabolism is balanced. The glucose levels in the blood are maintained at a healthy level. If we take more amount of carbohydrates in our diet, what happens is there is a sudden rush of glucose, and it's not right. What we need is a slow and steady release of glucose into our bloodstream so that we feel energetic all the time. Usually we get these food cravings. Why that happens is when our blood sugar level goes below 70, that's when the cravings start. But let's say if somebody eats a diet which is rich in protein and rich in fiber, they will have the feeling of satiety for a longer period of time. And thereby the food cravings can be avoided. So very important to take good amount of protein and good amount of fiber in the diet. I was discussing with my mentor today that what is the right diet, right? So a lot of researchers now say that you can maximize your protein intake, you can maximum your fiber intake, but restrict your carbohydrates to ideally 5 to 10%. Now, since many years, I was aware that the source of energy is only glucose. But I want to share with you today that there are two sources of fuel which our body can use. Either they can use glucose, or there is something called as ketones, which can be also used as fuel for the body. But if somebody is eating a high carbohydrate diet, it has its own disadvantages. But if we can have a diet where we can have more amount of protein, lot of fiber in our diet, and in that case, when we take fat, it is not going to harm, because the fat, as I said, it burns like a log of wood. And what happens is that the oxidative damage which happens with a carbohydrate diet, it can be minimized. So my suggestion here is to maximize your protein in the diet, take lots of fiber in the diet, and then minimize your carbohydrates as less as possible. So for example, if you have a breakfast of 4 idlis, then probably you can take just 1 idli and load with a big bowl of salad. And you can also then have good amount of fiber from your salads, and then a good, at least 3 servings of proteins. So this is a very detailed topic, friends, and I'll be covering this in our subsequent lectures in detail. But at a general, I would say that this is very, very important to make sure that you minimize your carbohydrates. Third thing is that eat more alkaline food. It is again very, very important. Why we need to take more alkaline food? Because there is a theory that alkaline food reduces inflammation in our body, and inflammation is again precursor to a lot of diseases. So for example, salads and vegetables that we eat, they are alkaline. So the food can be either acidic or food can be basic. So acidic food is what? Carbohydrates is acidic food. But when we take good amount of fiber, which is all the green vegetables, leafy vegetables, they are alkaline. And what the theory says is that acid plus base, which is alkaline, will create salt and water. So when we take good amount of alkaline food, we can have a better pH level of our blood, and which is very important for the health of our body and health of our organs. So it's a very important point, and that's why again it's linked to the same thing, that we should have a high fiber food and high protein food, because when we take protein rich food, it increases the alkalinity quotient in our diet. Then eat more live food, right? Every food has energy. Usually the fruits, vegetables, sprouts, these have this is called live food. They have bigger aura of energy. And when we talk about let's say I take a roti or I take a chapati, there is something called as Krillian photography, which when you take a picture of a food, it can give you what is the energy aura of that food. It's very important to eat live food, because the live food has more bigger aura of energy, and it has its own tremendous benefits. Again, if you see, it's the fruits, the vegetables. When I say fruits, it should be low glycemic fruits, and we should take it moderately. And as I said, friends, that I'll be open for a detailed discussion also with you, or my team will be helping you with detailed questions. We can cover that. It's a very detailed topic, I understand. I think I'm getting some comments and questions also. Now, another important thing is color your diet. Make sure that you include more and more colors. the red of the tomato, the purple of the different colored cabbage that we get. It's very important because they are rich in antioxidants. Sadhguru also mentions that if you can make 50 to 60% of your diet full of fruits and vegetables, then that's a very important guideline. So it is very important that we take care of this. Then thing is when to eat. Breakfast should be taken between 7 and 9, and lunch between 12 and 2, and dinner 3 hours before the sleep. Very, very important, because it takes, if we take carbohydrate rich diet, it takes 6 to 8 hours to digest that food. So it's very important that we give a big gap between our meals. Point number 1. Point number 2, make sure that you try to have the meal in the healthy time zone, especially the meal at night, where I hear a lot of problems from the everyone. How to eat food? Eat protein and fiber food first. I'll share with you a very interesting link which explains why to take protein and fiber food first. Because our brain has a start and stop mechanism which tells when to start eating and when to stop eating. If we start our meal with protein and fiber first, then automatically the brain messages of satiety will be sent immediately. But if we, let's say, start our food with a carbohydrate, let's say we have a thali, we have dal, we have rice, we have sprouts, we have curd, it is always advisable to eat salads and curd and sprout first, and then your carbohydrate rich food, because that way what happens is you minimize your carbohydrate intake. Otherwise, there are experiments which shows that sugar it's almost like it works like drugs. It triggers messages in our brain which says give me more, and we eat more, and we do not actually need that much of food. It's very important to eat protein fiber food first, and eat very slowly. Chew food 32 times. It is, our old proverb says, eat slow and chew more. So this, I would say, is a very important guideline, like, change your lifestyle. Once you have achieved this, you have a good low, high protein, high fiber and low carbohydrate diet. You are taking care of all the colors, you are eating in the right way. Then the main thing is you have to be honest, right? You have to be honest about your nutritional gap. So for example, 60 grams of protein I need to take, which means I need to take at least 10 glasses of milk or 8 eggs per day, or at least 8 to 9 katori of dal. And if I'm not taking that much, it means there is some nutritional gap. And today, the way the farming is happening, we know the quality of fruits and vegetables, what kind of soil is being used. We know that soil is depleted. Since last many years, farmers do farming and they do not replenish the soil many a times. So because of various factors today, the environmental hazards, the insecticides and pesticides in the food, because of all these reasons, whatever we are eating today, fortunately or unfortunately, it's unfortunately that we do not get enough of what we should get from the food that we are eating. And that causes nutritional gap. And that is why we should look at honestly supplementing our diet to bridge that nutritional gap. And let me tell you, friend, this is not new. Our ancient rishi munis, our ancient fakirs, everybody used to know this knowledge. They used to go to forest, they used to create some, for example, Chyawanprash, it's a 3,000, 5,000 years old supplement, because they knew the knowledge as to why to take additional nutrient, which may not be sufficed from our day-to-day diet. And then when we are talking about optimum health, it becomes all the more necessary to make sure that our health gets more than the RDA. Our body gets more than the RDA amount of foods and of nutrients, so that they can actually act as antioxidants, or they can actually repair the cells in the best way. And that is what I would like to wind up by just sharing few very important points about Nutrilite and what we are doing at Nutrilite. Nutrilite, friends, I will tell you quickly that it's the best and the #1 vitamin, mineral and dietary supplement brand. What makes Nutrilite special is its philosophy of whole plant concentrate. Nutrilite, as you can see here, is the pioneer in the field of nutrition. When people did not know about diseases, we were talking about how to prevent diseases by having a solid plant-based diet. And whatever is the gap, we can fulfill with organically, naturally grown food supplements. In fact, Nutrilite was the first company to create a multivitamin, multimineral supplement way back in 1934. And kudos and a big respect for this great scientist, Carl Randburg, who is founder of Nutrilite. He studied various different plant compounds, botanicals. He did huge amount of research in those days when equipments were not there. And he actually pioneered this concept of providing best of nature and best of science to people. And that's why now that we know that there is a nutritional gap, then it's more about, I feel, a decision that we need to take, whether I want optimum health or I just want to let it go or happen as it is. And if we are talking about supplementing our diet, yes, I know that I need to improve my nutritional parameters. Then the question is, would you like to have an average thing going inside your body or the best product, right? And why I'm emphasizing this point is that when we talk about our body, I think we all would agree that we want to put the best. And Nutrilite is world's #1 supplement, not only in terms of sales, but in terms of the practices which they have. And as you can see in this picture, right from planting a seed till the product comes out in market, there is no human hand which touches it. It's 100% organic farming, no chemicals, no insecticides. And whatever product you get in your hand, it can be traced back. Every step of the process is tracked, it's traced. And I have a story to share with you, and that is called Nutrilite's traceability story. I'm going to play 30-second small videos, which will give you an idea as to what Nutrilite is doing and why it is committed to the best health and optimum health of individuals. So let me play the first video here. It is called Nutrilite traceability. First thing is choosing the right plants. How do we ensure that we are choosing the right botanicals? So here goes the first video.
Imagine a world where plants have fingerprints, and where a group of scientists have fingerprinted over 1,300 of the world's botanicals to locate the specific phytonutrients needed to make pure, safe, and effective supplements. Now imagine if fingerprinting 1,300 botanicals was only the beginning. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
Wow, so that was choosing the botanical.
Imagine a world.
Next is selecting the seeds. Very important. Now you know that you are going to use what plant as extract. It's important to make sure that seeds of those plants are healthy. They are not genetically modified, right? They are natural. They are best species.
Imagine a world where scientists cared so much for their seeds that they gave each seed its very own birth certificate, and where each birth certificate represents the life of that seed, tracking it from seed to plant to supplement, ensuring it remains pure, safe, and effective. 1 million seeds tracked every year. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
So that was about selecting the seeds. Now, where will you grow these seeds? That's very important. What kind of farms? So here we have the next important step in traceability of this, which is the choosing the farms.
Imagine a supplement company so dedicated to effective ingredients that it searches the globe to find the best farms from every continent, except Antarctica. Sorry, Antarctica. Imagine that company owning nearly 6,000 acres of organic farmland, the equivalent of 3,700 soccer fields, and certifying nearly an additional 100 partner farms across the globe. This is the world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
Then comes the growing. Now that you have the farms, how are you keep taking care of this plant? How do you grow those plants, right? So that's the next.
Imagine a farm where nature is used to protect nature, where no toxic chemicals are ever used, and where good bugs are employed to protect against bad bugs, and where natural pest control is the job of falcons, like copper. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability. Imagine a.
So next, once you have grown it, how are you going to ensure that you're harvesting at the right time and you are ensuring that the nutrients will be intact?
Imagine a farm that understands its plants so well that it knows the precise moment the plant's nutrient levels are optimal, even if that means picking green cherries instead of red. Imagine farmers choosing that precise moment to harvest, even if it meant getting up at 3 a.m. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
Wow. So I would say, friend, this is a goosebump moment for me. Imagine a company dedicated that they ensure that the right timing when the optimum nutrition is there in that particular fruit or a plant or a vegetable, and ensuring that you wake up at 3 a.m. to ensure that you're picking at the right moment. So this is Nutrilite traceability.
Imagine a farm.
Next is extracting. Now that you have got the plug done, how do you extract these nutrients, ensuring without disturbing it?
Imagine a supplement company that uses every part of every plant, whether it's for you or the planet, where scientists identify the precise parts of each botanical with the highest concentration of phytonutrients to ensure effectiveness, and where the remaining parts of the plant aren't thrown out, but are used to revitalize the soil on its organic farms. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
Right. So making sure that the plant extract, the fruits, plants, and vegetables, whatever is plugged, reaches the factory on time. I know for sure that they are airlifted from the farms and they reach the factory on time. And this is something very interesting. And next is manufacturing. How do we formulate and how do we manufacture this?
Imagine a team of engineers so obsessed with excellence that they run more than 500,000 quality checks a year on your supplements, where this obsession results in an average of 1 test per minute, all year long. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
Right, and then
Imagine
after the supplements are manufactured, make sure it is made sure that 10,300 tests per particular product as the need may be, that is ensured, and then comes the packaging.
Imagine a company so committed to delivering you the best supplements that it runs over 30,000 tests a year on its packaging, where engineers test your packaging against extreme conditions to ensure that your supplements will remain pure, safe, and effective. From our door to yours. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
So once the product is packaged, then it reaches me and you, right? And when it reaches me and you, what does it
Imagine
mean?
a company.
What does it mean to us? That's the last step of traceability, which is you. That is you and me.
Mr. Samir, you are not audible.
Are you able to hear me now? Are you able to hear me now?
I am able to hear you, Samir bhai.
Okay, thank you. So we will continue, friends, with this video. Sorry, we'll come back to you.
Imagine a supplement so infused with the power of nature that you never have to question its purity, its safety, or its effectiveness. We're coloring your world with plant-based supplements nurtured every step of the way. Because to get truly traceable supplements, you need to go behind the label. This is a world you don't have to imagine. This is the real world of Nutrilite traceability.
So friends, this is the commitment of Nutrilite when it comes to supplementing your diet, when it's about making the best of nature and best of science for us, right? And when we see these videos, to me, it's just that this is definitely something which we can trust on. And since it's 100% natural, there are no side effects, right? Last 5 to 6 minutes, I'm going to wind up my lecture, my talk. And I just want to give you a brief introduction as to what are the supplements we have. We have foundation supplements, something which anybody can use on a daily basis, like a protein powder or a multivitamin, multimineral, or a kid's health drink. Then we have something called as essentials. Along with foundation, if you want to enhance our health in some specific area, like I want to improve my bone health, then I have calcium, magnesium, I have vitamin D3 supplements. Then we have lifestyle specialty. That is absolutely based on lifestyle, need specific. So for example, somebody is having knee joint pain. We have something called as glucosamine HCl with boswellia, which can help in regenerating the cartilage to a great extent. Of course, it's not the only supplement that we have to use, but a right lifestyle, as I mentioned, and a combination of protein, daily calcium, and glucosamine and omega-3. So as we discussed that all these nutrients work together in synergy, but we have different supplements. And I will encourage that the person who has invited you or the person who has shared this video with you, you can get back to him to get more details. Just briefly, when we talk about foundation nutrients, we have a protein powder, we have multivitamin, multimineral, Nutrilite daily, we have omega-3, and we have concentrated fruits and vegetables, and we have a product called Nutrilite fiber. These are called the foundation nutrients. Anybody must know about it and understand it and plan to invest in it. Now, we saw so many videos about which make sure that Nutrilite ensures the quality, but I just take one product here and explain you why Nutrilite, right? So here is Nutrilite protein powder. And when we talk about protein powder, there are many protein powders available in the market. But what differentiates protein powder of Nutrilite is, number one is it is 100% digestible, because there is something called as TeDEX score, 97% to be precise. So TeDEX is like protein digestibility corrected amino acid score. It is the measure of the quality of a protein, which is accepted as a very important quality measurement parameter, which is called TeDEX score. And the value of this protein is 1.0, which is the highest attainable protein quality. Point number one. Second, why it's a complete protein? Because all 9 essential amino acids are there. But more important than the completeness of it, when it comes to Nutrilite, is that what is the ratio of those 9 essential amino acids? That's very important. As you can see here, this is a chart which WHO says that if the protein amino acids, what should be the levels? A is to B is to C is to D. And what we see here is Nutrilite maintains those ratio at a optimum level. So this is a very big differentiating factor when it comes to a protein powder of Nutrilite or what probably is available in the market. So that is the level at which we work when it comes to supplements. Now, this brings me to the last video, which is only take hardly 1.5 minutes, and you can just see it. This is a great scientist who has been working in the field of cellular nutrition for more than 3 decades now. And he is giving a verdict about why it is important to focus on cellular nutrition. And you listen to his statement very clearly, friends. This is going to be a very important statement that he makes here.
Most important discoveries we made in the lab in the human cell culture was that if we grew cells in a way in which we provided them with all the essential nutrients in the right form, in the right balance, and protected those cells from toxic substances, that those cells, the very cells that make up our body, they remained healthy and free from degeneration for decades.
This lesson was important for Dr. Wentz, and he pondered how best he could use his expertise in cellular nutrition to promote health.
Now, this is the ultimate statement here, friends, that we need to understand. If we have to understand cellular nutrition, what he says is that if you give the right nutrients, if you give the right atmosphere to the cells, they have the capacity for living decades. So what we are facing today is degeneration. And imagine that our cells don't degenerate at all, which means we can slow down our aging process. We can increase our efficiency levels. And that I feel, and I am trying to practice a lot in my life today is that we all can live optimal health if we follow the philosophy of cellular nutrition, which we just learned together. And I can just wind up. This is my last slide as I'm saying thank you to you. And just let's read this out. The premise on which the cellular nutrition works is this: if cells are healthy, tissues will be healthy. If tissues are healthy, organs will be healthy. And if organs are healthy, then organ systems are healthy. And if organ systems are healthy, human being is healthy. So with that, I conclude my talk and I say that, I welcome everyone to the world of optimal health. Last but not the least, we have seen all this on a PPT. We have seen all this on a video, right? But I always believe that seeing is believing. And I want to share with you quickly, just 2 more minutes, a small demonstration in live. Some of you would have seen this, but as to how these nutrients actually work in real life situation we are experiencing in our body, but I'm going to show you a small demonstration. So I'm starting my video for a while, and you just let me know whether you are able to see my experiment setup clearly or not. Okay, so let me stop sharing. Is 2 bottles. One is Mr. A, you can say, and one is Mr. B. And I'm going to take some water and fill it here. So we take water in first bottle and we take water in the second bottle. And it's going to be a very interesting experiment here. And this is rice. I cannot take out human cells, so on a lighter side, so I'm going to use this rice. So we put the cells in both these bodies. It is betadine. It's an iodine tincture, and iodine tincture is a very strong oxidizing agent. Okay. So where does the oxidation come from? From poor diet, from high carbohydrates, high glycemic index food, from the atmospheric pollution, air pollution, chemical pollution, pesticides, insecticides. So let's pollute these 2 bodies. Okay. 6, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drops. 3 more. Let's make the 10 count complete figure. All right. Now what we will do is we will see. Now this is one guy over here, one of our friends, who says, I'm fine, I'll take 3 times my meal, I'll be okay. And the other guy who is on my right hand side, he is open-minded. Now at this point of time, if both parties' cells, as you can see, are damaged, the cells are blackish, right? And same with the other open-minded guy also. But this person over here, he is not interested in optimizing his health with right nutrients from food and of course supplements, but this person is. So we'll give him Nutrilite Natural C. Natural C is here. It's 100% natural, coming from the farms of Nutrilite, and it has 500 mg of vitamin C, by the way, and it's a great mechanism. So what I'm going to do is take this spoons to crush it. So I crush this particular tablet here. Okay. All right, so I have crushed this vitamin C here, as you can see here. Okay, and I'm going to feed this to the open-minded friend of mine. As you can see, open-minded friend of mine, I'll just give it to him. And is happy about it. And now we will see what happens. So in fact, you can unmute yourself and clap if you want to, because you see what has happened here. Thank you. So in this, what we saw just now is how vitamin C kind of neutralize the effect of the free radical damage. Okay. Now that's not the end of the story. Suppose I have taken vitamin C, or you have taken this vitamin C, and now you go out in the atmosphere. Will you face the same pollution? Will you have the same stress? Absolutely. We cannot dodge that. But look at this. Once you had this vitamin C, your pollution, no effect. Stress, no effect. You're protected, right? So this is what happens when we give nutrition to our body. Now, many times people after 30, 40 years in their life, or 60, 70 years old, they think, my body is like this, Samir, what can I do? In Nutrilite, we say it's never late. You start giving to your body what your body needs, and over a period of time, as you can see, if you give the right atmosphere and environment to your cell, if you optimize your cellular nutrition, you can rejuvenate your body, or one can rejuvenate the body. And that's what cellular nutrition with right food, with right supplements is all about, friends, right? So with this, I conclude my presentation, and I really thank you all for patient listening, and I'm going to stop this recording now.